Views from Section 400 midweek show is here. Action packed as we discuss Auburn beating Houston, Villanova not knowing how to win basketball games, the championship classic or the Champions Classic went down as well with a tricky game for Duke. College football playoff got a flashy new update as we have a whole list of rankings to go over. The winners and losers obviously take up the meat of what we got going on here, but also the dessert NFL confidence picks right after winners and losers. We wrap it up with Mike of the Week, as always, but it's going to be a fun show. I can't wait to discuss everything that went down over the past couple days and weekend. Views from Section 400 midweek show starts right now.
A16, turn me up.
Just like that, we're back from Section 400. Matt and Brian bringing you along in this two-man show. Jack is still traveling the world, it seems, just on a business trip down in Dallas. So we will have him back hopefully soon, maybe this weekend, as early as next week. But as you heard in the intro, we have a lot of stuff to go over in this one. And we're going to jump right into college basketball because the Auburn Tigers, so far, are very, very good. And Villanova, as expected, at least from me, are very, very bad.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about I mentioned it on our last show, and I kind of refrained from really going into Auburn 2-0. They beat Vermont, who was a good program. We talked about that already, and you wanted to say Vermont wasn't that great. They're a good program. They beat them by 50. And then Tahad Pettiford goes in there and scores 21 points on the best defense in college basketball. And they beat Houston in Birmingham, or not in Houston. 2-0.
And had confrontation fights on the airplane down to Houston.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal with that was. I guess Jaheim Hudson was mad Ja'Kai Howard just did not like Miles Kelly making threes for some reason. I know that video was going around Twitter, and he put his head down every time Miles Kelly hit a three. I guess it fired the team up. And Janai Broome was doing the little plane celebration after they beat Houston. So they obviously don't really care.
Look, if you're winning basketball games, I guess it doesn't matter what the hell you do. Again, don't kill people, don't break the law. You know what I mean. But you can basically do whatever you want as long as you're winning basketball games. And oh, by the way, did Brian and another one of his teams just get another gimmick to go along with one of his teams, and Janai Broome doing airplanes all over the basketball court?
Yeah, you got the Baldiani, so I just needed to get another one in the chamber just to still have the upper hand there.
Always got to one-up me, dude. And the Baldiani era is not over as he's still undefeated. And I don't know if I'll still continue to roll with that. And I don't know if I will ever have to shave my head if it continues to roll like that and they start beating some of these good teams that are on the schedule. There's some good teams on the schedule. And if the Eagles knock them off and Baldiani stays undefeated, I might have to shave the head.
If they win the Super Bowl, I think you have to go at least like 2 years with a shaved head, or at least until they lose again.
I don't know about 2 years, but I would do that. I would be willing to do that. If they win the Super Bowl, I will trade my hair and donate it to St. Baldrick so it actually goes to a good cause.
There you go.
But no, so we'll get into football in just a bit. Don't worry, we have a lot to go over before a heated NFL Week 11, which, by the way, starts tonight with my Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Commanders. So we'll get into the NFL in just a bit here. But I want to talk about some of the college basketball that has been unfolding. We're almost, 4 or 5 games into the season now. And like Brian said, the Auburn Tigers are running and rolling, looking to be one of the best teams in the SEC. But their interstate rivals, Alabama Crimson Tide, are also off to a very nice start and, a couple ranks ahead of Auburn as well. So will this be the first time in the history of the world, I don't even know, that the Iron Bowl on the football field will be less important than the Iron Bowl on the basketball court. I don't know if it's called that, but it seems to me that I would be way more tuned in to the basketball game than it would be for the football game. That sounds crazy to say, but I think it's true.
Yeah, you got it, Clay. It's the Iron Bowl of basketball. So you were pretty close. But yeah, I mean, at least for the last 2 years as an Auburn fan, it's been more important. I don't know if as an Alabama fan they'd say the same, but you say Alabama's a really good team. Kentucky just beat Duke in the Champions Classic. I think they're the second best team in the SEC. I love Mark Pope a lot better than I like Nate Oates. I'm not sold on Alabama mainly because Aiden Holloway is on the roster. They almost just lost to McNeese, and I know how much you love Will Wade and McNeese, but it's McNeese, and they're at home, and they almost lost.
Yeah, well, I won't say they almost lost, but they were up by like
It
20
got
plus
close.
point. They were up by 20 plus in that game, and McNeese made an unbelievable run to cut it to maybe 5 or 6 points. McNeese was probably never winning that game, but they did make it close. Alabama went on a serious scoring drought, which if they do against some of these better teams, especially in conference play, will bite them in the ass because you can't go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of not scoring the basketball. But yeah, I mean, look, McNeese is going to be a team that's probably going to win the Southland and make March Madness, and maybe this is the year they have a upset in the first round. So not going to say McNeese is this horrible team with, oh, by the way, Will Wade, very familiar with SEC play. Let's not say McNeese is St.
I'm
Mary's
not saying
School of the
that, but
Blind.
Alabama's supposed to be the second ranked team in the country. They're not supposed to go wire to wire with McNeese, not blow a 20-point lead with McNeese. That's not supposed to happen. Auburn
And
just beat
it's
Vermont
also
by 50. And they're
right.
they're ranked three ranks lower. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, look, dude, it's tough to predict the top 25. You see them get it wrong in football all the time, where teams start. What was it 2 years ago? Texas A&M started in the top five, finished the season unranked. So we see teams start in the top
Florida
10,
State
and
this
then
year.
Florida State this year. So we see teams start in the top five, top 10, and then fall right outside those. So we'll see how the season rolls on. But Alabama's good. Auburn might be a little bit better. But you touched on the Champions Classic, and we finally saw, I guess, Cooper Flag and Duke face some healthy competition, some good competition, and Kentucky kind of brought it to them. They defended well, shot the ball well. They did kind of everything right in that game that really disrupted what Duke had to offer. Cooper Flag is still a very good basketball player, but maybe a good loss for Duke early in the year to kind of have some early adversity for what's going to be a long season for them.
Yeah, and Cooper Fly's going to get a lot of the flack because of the last two possessions where he turned the ball over. But without him, like Duke might have lost that game by 20. In the whole second half, they didn't have any answer for the Kentucky defense. And it's crazy to say that because Kentucky has not played defense for the last decade under John Calipari. But without Cooper Flag creating his own shots, I don't know if Duke scores 10 points in that second half. They'll be fine. I am not worried about them against Auburn after watching that game. I think Auburn's defense is a lot better than Kentucky's, and they have a lot more length that could disrupt even Cooper Flag. I think it said more about Kentucky as a very good basketball team than it did about Duke. Duke's going to be up there. They might make it to the Final Four.
Yeah, and we'll probably see Kentucky finish in the top 10 this year if they continue to play like that. But
Yep.
the SEC's loaded this year, and
They were preseason number 8 in the SEC.
Kentucky,
Yeah, that's how
that's
loaded
not
this
good.
conference is.
I mean, you got to understand Texas jumping into the conference now, Oklahoma in the conference as well.
Yep.
So a couple big players of the Big 12 jumping over to the SEC, which only makes it that much more fun. But the Big East is still there, and they're horrible. Obviously, UConn at the top, defending champions, going for a three-peat, is it? And
Yep.
Butler already has a loss or two. Nova already a couple losses, bad losses to Columbia and St. Joe's. Seton Hall an early loss, so not a strong year out of a conference that usually can send 4, 5, 6 programs to the big dance. Maybe we're only looking at like two or three, and I think the two locks are Creighton and UConn.
Yeah, my is kind of I guess you call it a sleeper, but when we did our preseason predictions, I picked the Johnnies coached by Rick Pitino, to win that conference, and that's not looking too bad right now because everyone else looks so bad. And I have a very
Yeah.
sad stat for you, and I know how much you hate Kyle Neptune, so maybe it's not that sad of a stat.
Yeah, he's
But
horrible.
Jay Wright in his last 9 seasons with Nova lost 2 games to sub 100 Ken Palm teams. Kyle Neptune in 2 seasons and 3 games has lost 8 of those games.
Yeah, I mean it's this the story writes itself and how this guy is still employed. Still, he should have been fired at the end of last year. Should have never got the job. And the fact that we're sitting here in what is it, year three of the Kyle Neptune experiment, I feel like I'm watching, Daniel Jones getting trotted out there for the Giants every week. Instead, it's in head coaching fashion for college basketball. They just like continue to go to the guy. And I don't know what they're hoping for, but when it's so glaring that the fans know the right answer and the program doesn't make the switch, that's when there's just what underlying issues going on. What dirt does Kyle Neptune have on Villanova?
Yeah, I don't know if they're the type of program to fire a coach midseason, but if there was ever a time to do it, it's right now.
It's right now. Do it in the beginning of the year. Get somebody in there. Do a proper head coaching search at the end of the year. There's a lot I could go on and on and on about, but yeah, just a real quick. Brian has MSU sucks again. I thought Michigan State was off to a decent start this year, but I guess Brian thinks otherwise.
They did not look very good against Kansas. And it was more the fact that they're continuing to be put in this Champions Classic when UConn's sitting right there, when anybody in the SEC, I guess they want one from each conference, but you can find the Big Ten other teams that are more, I guess, more willing to go into that Champions Classic, more deserving to go into that Champions Classic than just giving Tom Izzo a spot in it every year. And I more too, I got the memory of our reel last year of you mad about Michigan State not covering the 30-point spread, and they won by like 10, and we went on our rant.
Yeah, I think
I don't know
I
what
remember
happened.
that. Look, it's the Champions Classic, right? It's like the Cowboys and Lions on Thanksgiving. Michigan State and Duke, I feel like are always in it, and they're always going to be in it. So all those years of us saying why the hell are the Lions playing on Thanksgiving when they were, borderline could win a game, it's just what it is. You just have to accept it and appreciate the tradition or the traditions in college basketball.
There could still be a Champions Classic that involves UConn instead of Michigan State.
Well, you're not going to get that. But what you are going to get is Brian's bets because they're back. He went plus 2.3 units on the day in the Champions Classic. Make sure you follow along on Twitter and Brian on the app at Brian Hauk to catch the daily bets that he throws out there. You're not going to want to miss it. Brian, I think you're above 50% on all your picks, right?
Yep, I was 41 and 24 last year, and this year we're 2 and 2, but one of those wins is Kentucky money line, so that's why the units are up.
That's why the units are up. So good stuff there. Make sure you follow Brian on Twitter. I always dip and dabble, throw a couple out there as well. But Brian was definitely red hot against the board last year, looking to do the same and probably will this year. But we will transition into some college football as we do every midweek show. It's like I said in the intro, very, very flashy rankings that came out. A lot of big risers, a lot of teams that might have dropped a little bit as well. Big drops. Here we are. But before we get into it, as always, the college football recap is presented by Bowl Miss. The 12 Days of Bowl Miss is back in 2024 with 12 episodes in 12 days, featuring familiar guests and some new ones. It all starts Monday, December 16th. Make sure you tune in to that. But as I said, some big risers and big losers. We're going to jump into it right now as Ole Miss looked dead in the water and somehow, some way, found a way to beat Georgia at home. They move up 5 spots and sneak into the number 11 spot. Brian, are you sold that Ole Miss is going to make this final ranking?
No, almost. They always find a way to not finish. And I don't know if that's Lane Kiffin or what it is about it, but they're not getting in. I'm not. I don't see a world where Ole Miss is in the college football playoff. And maybe I'm crazy for that, but I just can't see me sitting, staring at my television, at a college football playoff game on TNT. That, by the way, that's crazy. I didn't know they were hosting games this year. But there's no way Ole Miss is in a college football playoff game.
Yeah, so number one, I tend to agree with you. I don't see Ole Miss making it. I just think there's better teams out there to get in there. Where I will say it helped them a lot is knocking off Georgia, who has some nice wins on the year, a couple bad losses as well, but some nice wins on the year against a Texas team. Obviously, didn't they have a couple other good wins? I don't know. But either way, them dropping the game to Ole Miss is going to have them on the outside looking in. Even though they lost, is Georgia still, and this is a crazy question, is Georgia still a better team than Ole Miss?
Yes. I
Right?
think
Like,
you
doesn't
play
it
that
feel
game
like
10
that?
times, Georgia wins that game probably eight, maybe seven.
I, I tend to agree. Like, even though they lost and lost in horrible fashion, and Carson Beck is getting killed on social media. Some say the Cavender curse, as he's dating one of the Cavender twins. But it still feels like even though Georgia lost, they're still like the better team than Ole Miss and a more deserving team. That might be crazy to say, especially after what we saw, but that's what my gut's telling me.
Yeah, I think the issue is Carson Beck. Like if you just get them a better quarterback, they might not lose a game. And Carson Beck's clearly not that. And they had Stetson Bennett, who wasn't exactly an amazing college football quarterback. I think
Not at
he's
all.
the third string on the Chargers right now, so he's clearly not an NFL caliber quarterback. And Carson Beck's even worse.
Interesting stuff there, but like I said, it just really threw an ugly wrench in the rankings by Ole Miss winning that game at home. But good
Yeah.
for them, good for their fans. Moving on to Indiana, who how are they still going? Up three spots to number five. I don't know that they'll end here, but I think they're pretty much solidified into the rankings.
Yeah, I think this tells us the committee is giving them leeway for when they probably lose to Ohio State to only drop them like 5 spots, so they're still at that 10 spot. If they were still sitting at like 8 or 7, I'd be a little worried for Indiana. But up at 5, you got room to fall.
Especially if, like you were saying on the last pod or whenever it was, keep it close, right? Don't
Yep.
lose 38 to 10. Keep it close, lose by a touchdown, maybe you lose by two touchdowns, but it's super tight the whole way. Give the committee a reason to kind of keep you hanging around in that top 10 range.
Yeah, and they should get. I want to see Indiana in there. I want to be sitting here with Zach Myers on a bonus episode, seeing him all hyped up about his Hoosiers and going who. I want to see Indiana in a college football playoff game.
I do too, man. The coach is electric. He means business. He isn't settling. Like it's not like you're seeing him crying after going 6-0, 7-0. He's locked in, committed, determined to bring this team to destiny. And why not have a Cinderella story in college football? Why the hell not? But we move on to a team that Brian's been on all year, BYU, up three spots to number six. Feel like this is a little low, a little high. I don't know that they're the sixth team in the country.
Yeah, I don't know what the college football playoff is kind of what their plans are for the Big 12. I think if Colorado beats BYU, they'll still have Colorado ahead of like a Boise State in that bye. But I think this number 6 spot is telling you that BYU they safely have a bye if they win the conference, which they should. And I would be very sad if they lost to Travis Hunter and Deion Sanders in Colorado.
You never know, man. I mean, we know how much the committee loves them. So something to think about.
Yeah, there's a doomsday scenario too for the Big 12 where I think if Iowa State and Kansas State lose, if one of them loses 2 more games and one of them loses 1 more game, and West Virginia wins out, and they're currently 5-4, so they'd be 7-4, they would make the Big 12 title game. And if they beat a BYU in the Big 12 title game, they'd be an 8-4 conference champion. What do you do there? Like, do you keep in BYU?
I thought the conference champions get, isn't it like an auto bid scenario or does it
They
not work
do,
like
but
that?
then you'd have like a 1-loss BYU against like a 3-loss Georgia or a 3-loss Alabama.
Ryan, we see teams go on runs in college basketball that are 9 games under 500 that just magically went on a run and they get the auto bid. So if you're standing and dying on the hill of the auto bid, you got to let that team in that has four
Yeah,
losses.
no, I'm saying you let them in. But then I'm saying it's just a doomsday scenario for the
Oh,
committee
yeah,
to
you're
figure out
saying what
who
do you
to
do to
snub.
BYU? Yeah, I mean, you snub them. You're going to have to, unless another team loses. But if nobody else loses, you're going to have to. There's only so many spots. You're not picking
Yeah.
68. You're not picking this field of 68.
No,
It's
it'd be be very sad for BYU if that happened.
But up to number three is Texas. Up two spots. I'm not as sold on Texas as I was last year, man. I don't know. What are your thoughts here? Where are they going to go? Quarterback situation. What are they going to do? I don't know. I'm not sold on Texas.
Yeah, Texas is not winning the national championship. I'm not worried about Texas at all.
I'm not either. And then our favorite team up in Central PA, Penn State, up two spots to number four. I think if they get a blessed draw in the bracket, which they could, and I think they're kind of positioned to, at least this week. And obviously, these standings are going to change week to week. They could have a sneaky, easy way to a semifinal game.
They could. The issue is if they go up too much and they get that 5 seed. I kind of like Boise to pull off the upset against good old James Franklin.
Yeah, I do too. But that's what I'm saying. In a dream scenario, if they get like, what does that look like? Where they maybe, have to win a first round game, then get like a BYU in the second round, and then bang, they
Or
win that, and then
Miami.
yeah, or Miami, and then out of nowhere, they're just in the semis
Yeah, no, they could
against a
definitely.
rematch to like Ohio State to go to the
And
national title game.
Ryan Day would then have the pressure of being at home too, and it gets or it'd be a neutral site if it was the semis. But yeah, James Franklin wouldn't have the pressure of being in Happy Valley. So you never know
No,
with that.
and they would have already beaten them, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
tough to kind of beat them twice in a row in one year. We know the struggles Ryan Day has. We also know the struggles of James Franklin, but Penn State could be in a sneaky situation where they have easier games than others, I think is fair to say. So look out for how that happens. But Brian just touched on, possibly Penn State matching up with Miami. They fell big time, 5 spots to number nine. Um, are you all out after being all in for 8 weeks?
Well, I just like Cam Ward. All right. I think Cam Ward's good enough to put on a Superman cape and win, maybe not win the college football playoff, but win him at least a few games. I guess at this rate, if he won a few games, they would win the college football playoff. But
Right.
yeah, the ACC, it's not looking too good for them. They look destined for the 4 seed unless West Virginia can somehow win the Big 12, like we talked about. But at this rate, I kind of want to see SMU win the ACC championship game and get in over Miami.
Well, we'll get into SMU in a minute because I do want to talk about them. But the last team that really just fell off the face of the earth in terms of dropping ranks, Georgia, after the ugly loss to Ole Miss to number 12. We talked about them still probably being a better team than Ole Miss, even though getting embarrassed by Ole Miss. I don't know how that makes sense, but it's just how it feels, at least in my head. Georgia, any shot of getting themselves back into play here?
Yeah, well, it's a do or die game this week. They get Tennessee at home. So either they win that game and they're probably safely in, or they lose and they're the first team out right now. So I can't imagine another loss would give them any hope at getting in.
No, another loss. I think that's nail in the coffin. A big win at home against Tennessee, which they should be able to pull off, is all the life rejuvenated back in that team. Obviously, going to be tough with the quarterback situation that they have going on right now. But you did
Yeah.
bring up SMU just a moment ago. Where did this team come from? I feel like I haven't heard about them all year, and now out of nowhere they send out these rankings, and SMU is like knocking on the doorstep, about to be SWAT SEAL Team 6 and break in to this top 12. Like, where the hell did they come from?
Yeah, it's all that money that now NIL, they can just buy players and they're up in the ACC. So they finally, I think their sanctions ended last year, so they could finally start spending. And they've played a cupcake schedule because the ACC is terrible. And I don't think they've gotten any good of the better teams in there. and they're right there now. And with no divisions, they all they got to do is finish second, and they have a one-game shot at the college football playoff.
Who would they play in an ACC title game? Like, is Pitt done? Miami,
Yeah,
you assume, is done
it's gonna be SMU Miami most likely,
in the ACC title game.
unless Miami loses again, and then maybe Pitt, you see them make a run, but they just lost again, so it's got to be
Oh, they did
Miami
lose again.
SMU.
Yeah, it's got to be Miami SMU, and I don't know much about them, but I I'm on notice. I'm alerted. I'm aware. I wasn't familiar with your game. I'm still not, but at least I know you're on the doorstep of breaking into this thing. So props to them. We talked about Colorado and their path. Kansas State, kind of outside looking in. Tough spot for them, but I want to talk about Army. The committee not really giving them any love at all, as they're still undefeated, right? And
Yeah.
not budging in the rankings.
They did finally put Tulane up in the top 25. So the American Championship game may have a top 25 matchup here, but I mean, unless they really jump them up into the teens, I think Army's pretty screwed here.
Yeah, it was nice while it lasted. I think the logistical nightmare of the back-to-back weeks playing Navy, Army Navy game, this, that, and the third, both teams undefeated. It was too much of a headache to where they just said, hey, if we leave them where they are, they don't have enough big of a fan base to cause a ruckus on social media and brew up a storm. Nobody's really going to vouch for them too much to be there. And it's just, a nice story that I guess never really was. But you mentioned Boise State, Brian, and I don't know if you already mentioned it, but explain it to me again really quick before, we have some winners and losers to get into. But what is Boise State's path to the bye? Are they already in it? What do they have to do? What do they not have to do? Where's this path to the bye for the Broncos?
It's likely, well, not likely, but so Kansas State and Colorado, and then I talked about West Virginia, are all still 16, 17, and then of course West Virginia is not even ranked. If the committee has some cojones and Colorado or Kansas State somehow win the Big 12, give Boise that fourth spot. They've been ranked at the 13, 12 spot since you started doing these rankings. So they should be the fourth best conference champion. You don't have to give it to a Power Four school. You can give it to Boise and put the Big 12 at five. Now, the Big 12 commissioner and all their fans might cause a scene and maybe riot I don't know if it's a Capitol building they make the rankings at, but they'll riot wherever the rankings office is. But Boise State deserves a bye if a team that's not named BYU wins the Big 12.
Yeah, who do they play next week? How many losses do they have? Again, I mean, there's just it seems like the committee is kind of protecting themselves from these nightmare riot situations of fan bases.
Well, Boise State's not going to lose. They have San Jose State, Wyoming, and Oregon State. Oregon State's at home. So I know Oregon State still kind of has the Pac-12 kind of powerful, whatever. But Boise will win that game. And they're going to go undefeated. Like, if a two-loss Colorado wins the Big 12, I think undefeated Boise with the Heisman Trophy candidate Aston Genty deserves that four spot.
I just feel like each week as we go through this, the chaos is like brewing. The fire's brewing. Like, it's kindling right now. It's, the sparks are starting to flare. And then we're going to get to that final week and the committee's just going to be like gasoline on the fire. And it's just going to almost borderline explode. But we're only a couple weeks into these playoff rankings and it's already like kind of a brain buster, so to speak, on kind of trying to predict how the heck this thing is going to work itself out.
Yeah, I think the committee and a lot of college football fans thought the 12 teams would make it a little bit easier to predict. If anything, it's just made it a whole lot harder.
If anything, it's way harder, but we'll obviously discuss and digest next week's rankings when they come out. A big week of college football again on the cards. We'll see what happens as we discuss next week when the rankings drop. But I think it's time we transition to a little bit of winners and losers here. It's always presented by our good friends at SeatGeek.
The weather may be getting cold late in the year, but the sports action is heating up. With the final stretch of the football season upon us and basketball season now here, The only place to go for the best tickets for each game is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Views from Section 400 podcast, and whether you're looking to sit courtside of the Sixers game, find a last-minute deal up in Section 400 for the Iron Bowl, or looking to just cheer on your alma mater in a preseason basketball tournament, SeatGeek's one-of-a-kind system helps you find the best deal for the best seats in the house. Use code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek, your best night ever is waiting. And now, winners and losers.
Thanks to SeatGeek for that quick word, as always, presented by the winners and the losers of the week from Section 400. Brian and I will go around the horn on our winners and then around the horn on our losers. Brian, for you, who won the week?
It's going to be players that took their contracts in Bitcoin. So we know Odell Beckham, there was that whole thing with his Rams 1-year deal was a Bitcoin contract. But Russell Okung got paid $16 million with the Panthers back in 2020. Half of those $16 million he got in Bitcoin. So people were making fun of him at first, but right now that $6.5 million is up to $21 million because Bitcoin is at $90,000 right now.
I thought it was at a heck of a lot higher. Is it only 20 million?
Yeah, 6.5 has turned into 21 million. So it was worth
Laugh
about
now.
20.
That's a classic laugh now, cry later.
Yeah, it was worth about 20,000 when he signed the deal, and now it's worth 90. So he's what, 4x, 4.5x his money there.
Yeah, yeah. Good for that, man. I mean, yeah, I saw Odell Beckham posted on LinkedIn today, of all places. He probably posted on all his socials, but I happened to see it on his LinkedIn. But props to them. What was his deal? Was with the Ravens or no? With the Rams? He
With
took
the
he
Rams.
took a what was that? It was a very small deal, right?
Yeah, it was like 1 year, 4 million with a bunch of incentives, which he hit a lot of
Yeah,
those incentives because he made it to the Super Bowl.
right. So look, he had already made a sizable chunk of change. He took a gamble, said, "Let me just take this 4 mil in Bitcoin and see what happens," and turned out to being, betting on himself and betting on the crypto market, and both worked out for him. So that's some good stuff right there. But I will jump into my winner on the week. Keep it NFL centric, and it's gonna be to the guys who don't always get a lot of love. It's the kickers, particularly the kicker for the Detroit Lions. Jake Bates had one heck of a game on Sunday as he kicked the game-winning field goal, just narrowly squeezing it into, I think it was the upright or up left. Either way, squeezed it in, made the field goal. But the reason why he's particularly a winner is because 19 months ago, this guy was training to be some kind of salesman in Houston at the Acme Brick Company, whatever that was, maybe insurance. He thought his NFL dream was over. He thought it was done and dusted. He was going to be a salesman for the rest of his career and watch football and get hammered on Sundays, not actually be playing in games. But he got a chance with the Lions. He's been lights out this year for the Lions. I think I don't know what he went on Sunday, maybe 4 for 4. I don't know what he hit, but he got it done, made the game-winning field goal, and has found newfound life for his NFL career. So definitely winner of the week as going from potentially starting a career in sales to kicking game-winning field goals on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, he had a 60-something yarder to win his team the UFL championship a couple years ago, and then he finally gets the chance here. And I believe this is the correct stat. I may be wrong, but I think he was the first player to ever hit a 50-yarder to tie a game in the fourth quarter and then hit another 50-yarder to win the game in the fourth quarter. They haven't asked him to kick many field goals this year because their offense has just scored a bunch of touchdowns, but they called him and he answered the bell.
He has, and we'll see how long he can carry this good luck charm. I don't even know what you'd call it, but I guess it's deserving. But either way, Jake Bates, winner of the week for me, as he kicked his way to victory as the Lions get the dub down there in Houston in a pretty ugly game. But losers of the week, Bry. Should I kick off the loser of the week so we can flip up the flow here a little bit?
Yeah, why not? Go ahead.
Why not? And the reason I want to do it because I feel like you have this as your loser of the week, so I want to steal it from you so you can be rattled. But mine's going to be the Georgia football player who was celebrating on the field with the Ole Miss fans after losing the game. Now I know there's some story behind it, but watching that live and seeing Jake Pope celebrating with the Ole Miss fans after the loss was pretty remarkable sight to see as something that I've never seen ever in my life. Kirby Smart says the actions are just stupid, and I couldn't agree more. Apparently, it was a kid that he knew from high school that had seen each other in a long time. Wrong place, wrong time, Jake Pope. That is not the way to celebrate, especially when your team loses and might have knocked their way out of the playoff. Again, we talked about it. Maybe they have a shot, but yeah, really, really weird scenes there on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think he said it was like a family friend and his family that were Ole Miss fans, and they grew up going to the games. But like, as the fans were storming the field, he was jumping up and down for joy. And Kirby
Dude, it
Smart
was
called him an idiot
ridiculous.
before that quote too. And, I mean, he
Yeah,
wasn't. He is an idiot for doing that.
he is an idiot. He is an idiot. And, they talked about, they said the kid's embarrassed. But look, actions have consequences. Now you are everybody's laughing at you, dude, because your team lost the game and you were jumping around celebrating like crazy. So just bad, bad luck for, Jake Pope and Georgia football as well.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me why he would. It doesn't make any sense. It's a good loser of the week because it's just like, dude, come on.
Yeah. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Total, total loser of the week there. But what do you got for us here to wrap up this segment?
Yeah, I didn't realize the NBA Cup started because they put it on the same day as the Champions Classic, but it did. And Eric Spoelstra, who's probably the best coach in the game right now. I know Greg Popovich still exists, but he's kind of washed at this point.
Brian,
They were
Greg
losing,
Popovich had a stroke.
yeah, but like he's still like a legend. Like I feel like when you ask
Yeah,
the
he's still a
common
legend. But yeah,
NBA
Popovich is
fan,
not coaching right now.
yeah, but he's still like an active head coach in the league.
Yes.
If you ask the average NBA fan who's the best coach in the NBA, you're gonna get like 25 responses saying Greg Popovich, just because.
Not Steve Kerr.
I think you'll get like 40 Steve Kerr, 40 Eric
Right. Like if he
Spoelstra,
asked
and 20
100
Greg
people.
Popovich. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Family Feud style, you get, I think, Spoelstra, Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich.
I think Kerr and Spoelstra would be very tight at that number one spot.
Yeah, no, it'd be super close. It might be a few swing votes there,
The
but
reason why I could see Spoelstra eking out ahead is because as Spoelstra did have LeBron and did have some really good teams, Steve Kerr had like Steph Curry for the last 10 years, where he only had what, LeBron for 5 years. I know we're trying to really nitpick it there, but that I think for me would just edge Spoelstra out a little bit ahead.
yeah, he also, and I love Jimmy Butler, but he made it to the finals in the bubble with Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero as his two best players, who aren't exactly superstars.
Right. Right. Well, Tyler Hero is playing like one this year. But yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. It's there's a little bit more to Eric Spoelstra having a reason why his teams do good, other than just relying on Steph Curry being great.
Yeah, I mean, it also goes, yeah, there's a reason LeBron never wanted to fire him. But anyway, he's my loser of the week because he called a timeout with zero point 0.5 seconds left that he did not have, and he lost his team the game because of a technical free throw.
So as we hype this guy up so much, he is the loser of the week for Brian.
Well, like it's something you never expect from Eric Spoelstra, and it happened. And Jalen Rose was also in attendance, and they put a camera on his face after they called the timeout, and I think he got some PTSD because it was the funniest reaction ever.
He definitely did it. Look, everyone makes mistakes, man. Nobody's perfect. We're all human. Get it out of the way in November and not April.
But it's the NBA Cup.
Yeah, but is Spoelstra get a bonus kicker from that, or is it just the players that get the bonus?
Eh, Actually, I don't know.
It's a great question because I don't either.
I would imagine they do, right?
They have to. What would there be incentive? I mean, their incentive is they're still coaching regular season games.
Yeah, I mean, they all count.
Right. Like
The head
they're
coach receives,
still.
okay, so the head coach also receives the bonus the players do, and the assistants get 75% of that.
So he gets what of that?
The head coaches get the same amount as the players, and the assistant coaches get 75% of what the players and the head coach get.
Okay, so there is some extra incentive there to just do a job, and that's what you have to do to make basketball this early in the season super competitive. But that is the winners and losers of the week from Section 400, presented by SeatGeek. It's time now to jump in to the NFL confidence picks, which has been red hot. I mean, we've been neck and neck in the rankings now through 2 weeks. We'll jump into a fresh batch of picks in just a moment here. As always, the NFL confidence picks is presented by Views from 400 merch, t-shirts and shirts releasing those November 27th, which is Black Friday. Make sure you stay tuned for that. We have some sick logos coming out on some t-shirts. It's already planned. We're getting orders together. I can't wait to drop those in just a couple of weeks here. But we're going to go over what we have for the confidence here as we always do. We'll just jump through the standings really quick. And it is pretty neck and neck. Brian had 76 points last week with a record of 8-6. Jack 76 points with a record of 9-5. And I had the winner of the week, which I will claim those small victories, 78 points with also a record of 9-5. But I think I had some higher confident picks that I put on the line that ended up hitting. But as we look at the standings, Brian, or I am sitting in last, even though I won the previous week at 165. Brian, a point better at 166. And Jack, leader of the clubhouse at 188. Really hot first week for him. So leads about 20 points here. He's on vacation, or not vacation, on a business trip down in Dallas. I think him just putting these together, I don't know if he did a lot of research on them, could see a big slip from Jack here as maybe not a lot of research done on these picks. But Brian, do you want to kick us off here? Do you want to run through Jack's really quick and then you and I do it, or to run through Jack's at the end? How are you feeling, man?
Yeah, I'll give you Jack's real quick, and we won't have to really touch on him just because he probably put these together on his phone real quick while he was driving to whatever meeting he had for work. He likes the Lions over the Jags the best, then the Rams over the Patriots, Texans over the Cowboys, Dolphins over the Raiders, Vikings over the Titans, 49ers over the Seahawks. He likes your Eagles over the Commanders, the Jets over the Colts, Packers over the Bears, Falcons over Broncos, Saints over Browns, Ravens over Steelers, Chargers over Bengals, and Bills over Chiefs. So a lot of chalk for Mr. Chalk.
Yeah, I mean, as expected.
It's been working for him. But eventually some underdogs are going to start winning and he's going to fall off here.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of do. I know you just went there, so we don't want to let you go back to back. I'll run through mine, and then you can hop on yours really quick. But I think across the board this week, Lions over the Jaguars. I have that as my most confident pick. Jags throwing a backup quarterback out there. Texans over the Cowboys is my number two. Cowboys also backup quarterback. Rams over the Patriots. I have it number 12. Some might say kind of high, but that's what I like there. But as we go through the rest of the board here, Vikings over the Titans, Eagles over the Commanders, Niners over the Seahawks. I have the Dolphins over the Raiders, the Jets hopefully getting a big win at home over the Colts, Chiefs over the Bills. Really hope the Chiefs win that here. That'll be a big swing in points for me. Broncos over the Falcons. Denver's at home. I don't know if the boys saw that as they both have Falcons as well. Saints over the Browns here. Big win for the Saints coming. Steelers beating the Ravens. I think the boys like the Ravens. I'm on the Steelers, who, oh, by the way, I have going to the AFC Championship game. Packers beating the Bears, and the game I couldn't predict at all. I have no idea how it's going to play out. I have the Bengals over the Chargers as my least confident pick.
Yeah, I know how high you are on the Steelers, and I don't know if it was you getting in my ear or if it was just me kind of scared to pick this game, but the Ravens over the Steelers is my least confident pick just because I have no idea, no
You have
idea
no
what's going to
idea.
happen.
And the Steelers are at home, man.
Yeah, and that's what really just made me say,
Just
hey,
makes it that
before
much more of a toss up.
before I did anything else, I'm like, let me put this game at one because I have no idea. But I guess I'll go through my whole list here. Gonna make it boring. We all have the Lions over the Jaguars as our top pick, but I think we all just know Mac Jones is a terrible football player. Then I have Dolphins Raiders, Texans over the Cowboys, Rams over the Patriots, Vikings over the Titans, 49ers over my Seahawks. Unfortunately, this might be the week the Seahawks finally fall off a cliff. Jets over the Colts. We all picked the Jets, so that's scary. Packers over the Bears, Bengals over the Chargers. Joe Burrow, it is time. Get this big win, please. Bills over the Chiefs, Falcons over the Broncos, Commanders over the Eagles, just because of my Jaden Daniels love. Browns over the Saints, and like I said, the Ravens are my least confident over the Steelers.
Yeah, look, a lot of people thinking the Commanders are going to get an upset on Thursday night tonight against the Eagles. Bry, this is so random, but can we bring a roundtable back for 4 o'clock today, please?
Yeah, we can get one going.
Let's get a roundtable going for Thursday night for good time's sake. But to keep the confidence picks going, I laugh because it is scary. All of us are on the Jets over the Colts. I guess I can talk about it in a second, but where is your love for the Colts coming this week?
No, I do have the Jets, but I thought about switching it to the Colts.
Or that's what I meant. Where's your love for the Jets coming this week?
It's just because the Colts suck. And they're going
Yeah.
back to Anthony Richardson, which makes me like them even less.
Yeah, they're going back to Anthony Richardson, and the Jets desperately need, I mean, their season's probably over, but desperately for everything they've done to try and save their season, desperately need a win at home. Uh, Probably play a little better at home than they do on the road, as we just saw the disastrous game on the road at Arizona last week. Colts are dead in the water. Jets are also dead in the water, but I think I like the Jets a little bit more. Rodgers versus Richardson. I'm taking Rodgers right now at least 10 out of 10 times. But another game that we can talk about here is the Niners over the Seahawks. You were very high on the Seahawks. I don't remember what team. I was high on the Cardinals, and like
They're in first place.
Cardinals are looking like the team to beat.
The 49ers still exist, and Christian McCaffrey's back, but they are in first place
Cardinals beat the Niners.
without Christian McCaffrey.
I don't care. A win's a win, dog.
A win is a win, but I'm just saying when you look at the future here, the 49ers now have Christian McCaffrey.
They do. They had a confrontation in the locker room with what was it, Jake Moody and Debo Samuel. Tough, rough win on the road in Tampa last week. I mean, against a limping, injured Tampa team. So, look, they exist. Christian McCaffrey's back, but I'm not. I mean, look, the Niners are not the Niners that we know from last year. This is a different football team and a struggling football team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're getting Dre Greenlaw back at some point. I think it's just a matter of time until we see the Niners take off. And by take off, I mean win the division and just be in the playoffs.
I was going to say, what does takeoff really mean?
They'll be in the playoffs, and if they could win that first game, maybe they get hot and get back to the NFC Championship. I don't know if they'll get a bye at this point because it's going to take a lot.
Brian, you and Jack are on the Bills. I have the undefeated Chiefs. Just don't think the Pat Mahomes led Chiefs can get it done on the road.
Yeah, I forget what podcast I talked. I think it was like a week ago. I talked about this game, but we were talking about if the Chiefs would go undefeated, and this was the one they would lose. I just feel like this is Josh Allen. This is his time to get Mahomes, and then we'll get back to the playoffs, and the Chiefs will be back in Arrowhead, and Mahomes will remind Josh Allen that he's that guy, and you're not that guy.
I like the angle, but I just The Chiefs are, like you said, that they have the team of destiny vibes. They have the NFL in their pocket. Um, I just think it's another game where we just see Patrick Mahomes somehow, some way get a win.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they won again, but I'm that angle of Josh Allen getting the win in the regular season and then Mahomes winning the one that matters is just too right in front of me to think that's not going to happen.
Last game I want to talk about before we keep it rolling here to the mic of the week, but um, Broncos over the Falcons for me. It's a home game. Broncos coming off that brutal blocked field goal to lose in Arrowhead. I would have loved the Falcons here if the Broncos had won that game. Playing for everything this week as the Falcons got to go to Mile High Stadium. It's the whole thing. Big spot for me to pick up 5 points as you and Jack also have the Falcons where I have the Broncos.
Yeah, I like Kirk in Colorado just because Colorado Kirk goes off the tongue pretty well. And the Falcons did lose last week too. They need a win here. If the Falcons won last week, I might be there with you that, the Broncos really need a win. The Falcons coming off a win.
But
The
let's not
fa
discredit the Broncos. They're
they're
a good
they're a
football
fine
team,
team. They're a fine team, but the Falcons are supposed to be a very good football team.
and they're not.
They're a good team. I don't think they're a very good team. I just think they're a better football team than the Broncos are.
Yeah. For me, again, if this was in Atlanta, I would have taken the Falcons, but I like the Broncos in a home spot here after that brutal loss. I know you said last one, but I have the Saints over the Browns. I think you and Jack have the Browns. Or no, he switched to Saints. Yeah, how are you? You got a lot of road dogs in this one this week, or maybe they're not dogs, but a lot of road teams.
I like the Browns. I like Jameis in a dome.
We'll see what happens there,
It's
but
also a
that's the
revenge
NFL.
game for Jameis, so you got to remember that.
Kind of, sort of. He's played for a lot of teams, man.
Not that many.
Buccaneers, Browns,
Saints.
Saints. It's just three?
I think it's just those three.
Still a lot. Did he have a stint with
Three.
the Panthers?
No, but that would be pretty on brand for him.
Yeah, and I thought he might have had a season on the Falcons, and I thought, I don't know. Okay, either way, three's still a lot. Um, but fitting, we always got to somehow sneak a Jameis Winston comment in there, and it's kind of hard not to, as he's the leading starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. But that is the NFL confidence picks. Make sure you check out our social media posts that drop weekly. It has all the standings, picks, the whole 9 yards. So hoping to stay red hot against the board. I really like my picks this week. I don't know. I got a gut feeling that a lot of these are going to go the way that I'm thinking they're going to go. Again, probably just jinxed it, so I'll knock on wood, but like what I'm seeing on my side of things. But NFL Confidence Pick, as always, presented by the Views from 400 merch, just a couple weeks away. Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you get in line. Make sure you buy some merch. Why not rep the brand? It's going to be sick. It's going to be a lot of fun. NFL Confidence Picks, as always, presented by the Views from 400 merch. Now it's time. As always, we do end the show with a Mike of the Week segment to send us into the weekend, send us into Thursday Night Football, send us into glory. Brian, your Mike of the Week. What do you got for us?
Bronny James is not flying for road games for the foreseeable future for the South Bay Lakers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say for the LA Lakers. I was going to say, didn't he go down to the G League?
He is in the G League, and this is a quote from Brian Windhorst, who has made a career off of just following the James family. He's only going to play in the South Bay Lakers home games. He's only going to kind of be a part-time G League player, and he's not getting on United Airlines to fly to these road games. I know he's getting somewhat special treatment and nepotism. That's fine. Honestly, I don't care. Like I said, it's normal. Now I think it's detrimental to him. I don't like that. I don't know whose idea it was, but obviously the Lakers are fine with it. They're doing it. On this particular instance, I think that's gone too far. I don't think it benefits Bronny. No shit, it doesn't benefit Bronny. He can't play in half of his games.
He's not playing at half the games. He's not getting the development that he needs. It's more than just like playing minutes on the basketball court. He's not getting the psychological edge that it is being an NBA player, right? Like half the battle is going on the road with the team, traveling with the team, playing in road games, sleeping in hotels. Like the whole professional aspect, professional athlete vibe is lost if you're sitting in your LA mansion with daddy and mommy and only traveling. Like it's like playing AAU ball, traveling to your home games. Like it's worse than AAU ball because those AAU teams at least travel to go to tournaments. So this guy's like sheltered playing CYO basketball. It's only hurting him, not only about him not getting extra minutes on the floor, but that psychological NBA edge that you need across all major sports of traveling with the team and just, having that mentality that comes with being a pro athlete.
Yeah, it's so weird. And this poor kid is just you bring him up to the Lakers and he plays like 1 minute to play with his dad and get LeBron happy, and then they send him back down, and now they're doing this, and I don't know what. I guess it's appeasing LeBron, but at some point, like, let him live.
Let him live a little bit, man. I get it. He's gonna get the special favor, and in that quote or whatever you just read, I'm okay with it. Like, whatever. Give him the special treatment to an extent because his father is LeBron James. He probably anybody else with, say you take that player and it's not, the whole thing that comes with it with LeBron. Guy's probably not drafted, probably not in the league. Um, Give him a little bit of extra special treatment. I think he should just sit in the G League and play the whole year. But the fact that he's not traveling and there's this whole conniption around it, I don't even know that the Lakers are fine with it. I think they're just forced to being fine with it because LeBron James is still
Yeah,
running half that organization.
yeah. Now LeBron James is the Lakers. It's Rob Pelinka's the owner of the Lakers. It's LeBron James.
Yeah, he's definitely a big hand in that. And look, obviously contributing to their revenue and sales and this and that every year. So with that, when you play that big of a part, you have a hand in decision making. You have a big hand in the decision making of how your son goes about his first full season in NBA life. So, look, to an extent, special treatment warranted, I guess, but this I think is now bringing it a little over the top and a little too far. But we'll see how it plays out. And I just for LeBron at least, he should be able to see that.
Yeah.
Why don't we now jump to, I guess, my mic of the week? And I don't know that it's a weird, not even a weird one, just like a different kind of one. But I saw this as I was scrolling on ESPN, and it's some fresh faces that are coming to EA Sports NHL 25. EA is adding the Professional Women's Hockey League players and teams to all the platforms in a significant move to highlight the women's sport. It's the Professional Women's Hockey League. It's a North American league. I think there's only 6 teams in the league. A Minnesota team, a Toronto team, maybe a Boston team. So a very small league. Not sure what kind of players or how they kind of pool the players to go to that league. But yeah, NHL 25 is adding women's hockey to the game. We've seen it on the soccer field or the football pitch, to be terminology correct. But yeah, pro women's hockey is coming to EA NHL 25.
Yeah, the PWHL, they have 3 Canada teams, a New York team, a Minnesota team, and a Boston team. But
Yep. So they will be in EA NHL 25. And I thought that was interesting as we're starting to see a move of female athletes being implemented into video games. It started with FIFA, I think a year or two ago, and it kind of made sense. You can, that's the women's FIFA World Cup is pretty big. Would you say, Brian, the women's FIFA World Cup is the biggest female sporting event, maybe gymnastics in the Olympics? But I think the Women's World Cup is pretty big itself.
Yeah, I think it might be, well, actually I have no idea, but I feel like it feels big because America's always very good. But like the
Right.
other countries that are actually good at men's soccer probably don't care as much.
Right. I could see that being the case.
But yeah, it's still probably the biggest
No,
event.
yeah, it definitely is. But yeah, we're starting to see a trend though of like I said, the female athletes getting implemented. So pro women's hockey league in EA NHL 25. Can you drop the gloves with the females and like because I know with the men you can. So are they going to be getting fist fit fist fights with blonde girls and brunette girls and ponytails throwing down at center ice?
Well, I hope you can't play as an NHL team against the what was it? I already forget what the name of the league was, but yeah, I mean you should be able
PWHL.
to. PWHL, yeah. You should be able to fight. I mean, that's probably half the draw for these people to buy the game.
Yeah, just like have these chicks in the center ice getting in fist fights. I definitely would at least look it up on YouTube to see if it's a thing because that'd be pretty funny. Not sure if it's already been implemented, not sure when they're implementing, but yeah, that was pretty interesting stuff to see, at least on my end.
Yeah, no, I probably wasn't going to buy NHL anyway, but I might have to look up a YouTube video, like you said, to just see if
Yeah,
you can
might
actually
just
fight with
have to
these
see what's going on.
athletes.
But Brian, before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to discuss here as we wrap up the midweek show? Like I was saying, hope we'll get a little roundtable for you guys right before Birds Commanders in the battle of the NFC East on tonight is
Yeah,
when it goes
we'll get
down.
a little round table going. It'll probably go live at 4 o'clock Eastern time. So stay tuned to that on viewsfromcheck400.com. Presbyterian is looking pretty good in the bet I gave out today. So we'll see if they can hand that out. And Auburn's up 13 on Kent State right now. So things are looking pretty good right now.
Things are looking up and up. I didn't mention it mid pod, but make sure you stay tuned for bracketology that's coming in January. I know we're a few months out, but with the college basketball season heating up, already seeing teams we don't expect lose, teams we do expect win. It's coming up and it's coming quick. Bracketology, Brian and I dial it up weekly. Make sure you stay tuned for that. But other than that, that's all I really have. Great show in the two man. It's always fun. It's always light. It's always fresh. I'm Matt. It's Views from Section 400. I'll catch you in the next one.
We're working hard behind the scenes on this merch. Can't wait for it to drop. Can't wait for you guys to get some.